it's fair to say that was quite a good weekend for us South fans, bouncing back with a strong, thumping victory over the still pointless Bayside 4 games into the season. So, doing the usual, let's get back into our talking points of the game. First thing, certainly a change in squad. Now, at the moment, this is just present speculation because we haven't got an answer because it's just been it. There's been other things. So, suspected that Chill might have been out due to injury, the most likely scenario as she wasn't playing, nor do we see her anywhere that day. Of course, occasionally there is things that do come up that are unavoidable for players, but suspected injury this time, which not great, but at least we do have the depth that where we've got players that can step up to fill in a position that an absent Chill leaves. Of course, we had the continued missing presence of Furo Bass, who was with us on the sidelines for the game. Of course, she is out due to a very battered ankle. And of course, we all hope her the fastest of recoveries. There was another major talking point in terms of squad change is Carlos. While she wasn't meant to, she ended up playing full 90. And as someone who's come back for 12 months and the rest being injured, that is certainly something that has to be commended. And just how well she plays and has played coming back from her very, very awful injury. So, of course, a great commendation there. On top of that, we had the proper return of Melina Garriers, who started off the game on the bench, and some we'll get back to soon enough. So as for the first half, not too different from most games, rather typical from us. Number of shots that looked almost certain they had gone in was quite the case, or just a bit wide, so on and so forth. It's definitely in the final third. It was clear that we were missing something, that we just weren't getting the boot in just to do what needs to be done. But otherwise, we were the first to score, and it was very much a clever passage of play, just pushing pressure on Bayside's defence and just chipping away at what they're doing. The opening goal going to Amy Medwin after a very lovely strike from the left wing. However, in about 30 seconds, they had equalised. And this is bringing me round to a point that I want to make clear. Why it wasn't, at least in that moment in itself, where we did equalise very, very quickly. I think we've shown a sign that isn't a great sign, particularly at an NPL level, that I do think something that all footballers do suffer from, whether it's at amateur level, professional level. It's when you go behind, your mind goes one of two places. Either you fight back to get it, or you pull back a little bit and get a little bit extra defensive, as if you're just trying to ride out the storm and hope for the best. On the opposite side, if you scored first, you either get all fired up, or, as happens during our fixture, became a bit complacent and just somehow let them waltz through the defence. And it's fair to say, mug off Barbieri, who really couldn't react in full force because the player was right there. And as someone who has played in goals before, certainly not as a prestigious level, but still understands, like, when you're in that position, There's only so much you can do. And yeah, effectively, it was still an open goal. And that is something we need to work on, is to avoid happening again. Because it can so easily happen, but it can also be so easily fixed. Certainly, at least in the first half, defensively, we did seem to be still lacking a bit of form, but it's getting there. Beyond that, not too much notes. Though what we did look spectacular was our press and just pushing the Bayside's defensive line up the wings, up both the left and the right wing. Oh, my left, your right. Here just putting that pressure upon the opposition. And that's something I think we saw particularly against Bulleen in our opening fixture. We saw it against Calder. We might not have had it in our defeat against FV Emerging so much. But it's our football. And when we do it spectacularly. And that is something we need to keep doing, perfecting and pressing every minute of the full 90. Because we do it so well. And when we do it, we benefit tremendously. Of course, we still need to fix things. We're in that close range where we're just not connecting it. No one's really at fault there. I think a lot of the time it would rather been, say, half a second too early, half a second too late, a foot too short in other crossing cases, but overall, that pressure has been fantastic. Otherwise, coming on to the second half, a bit more to talk about. Of course, most prominently, we saw Milena Ayres finally make her first minutes of the 2021 season in the Hellas Blue and White, and immediately went on to make a very, very prominent impact, scoring a spectacular hat-trick, and certainly showing why she is so renowned within the W League system, but also how likely she is to make the Matilda squad, which, while nothing's concrete, at least at a national level, so it's international, should we say, Ayres shows quality no matter where she is. And I was speaking post game with our delightful captain, Natalie Martineau. That is a point she reiterated. Ayres produced quality over quantity. And that's something we do need. And that's something that we have to see where we can. Because we've got the talent, we just need to thread those last bits together to ensure that we are constantly showing how good we are, both as individuals, as individual players, but also as a team, as a club. Of course, surely, Ayres is going to be getting her place very soon in the Tillies. Now, going a bit away from South Melbourne, why don't we look around the grounds? So on the Saturday, we had two fixtures, Calder versus Burgers and Alamein versus Bulleen. Calder, perhaps to be expected, had a strong win, going up 5-0 victors over Heidelberg. Alamein versus Bulleen. Very much, I'd say, a bit of an even contest, at least this stage in the season. Both have had, maybe not the most dominant starts of the season, but have shown that they can play good football. I believe the scoreline would have reflected that, with Bulleen going up 3-2 victors, their second win of the season. Of course, on the Sunday, Bayside hosting us going on to be 5-1 victors. We all know that by now. And on the Monday, we had emerging host Box Hill up at Knox, emerging going on to win 6-2 over Box Hill. Emerging very much showing exceptional quality in their invincible start to the season. And that is why they're top of the table with 12 from 12 points. A fantastic effort by everyone in the emerging squad. They truly have to be praised for their efforts so far. In second, we have Calder on 9 points, who happen to be equaling emerging's goal difference plus 12. Something worth watching. In third, we have ourselves, of course, with our 3 from 4. But our plus 6 goal difference due to with our battering by emerging. So if we get that goal difference a bit up again. In fourth, we have the rising Bulleen Lions on 6 points with a neutral goal difference. In fifth, you've got Heidelberg on 4 points, -2. Scoreline also shared by 6th place Alamein, 4 points, -2 goal difference, which really split them at the moment. In 7th, with their solitary win, we have Box Hill on 3 points and -13 goals. And Bayside still on their donuts with an equal -13 goal difference like Box Hill. Now, while it is still early on in the season, we can definitely see our table starting to shape up. Definitely the top 3 is very obvious, and it's going to be, at least in my mind, a clear 3-way battle for the league. Perhaps a 4-way battle, considering how Bulleen have come to find their form the past few games. So they should definitely be watched just to see where they go from here. Heidelberg and Alamein, yes, they're not that far behind, but it does feel like they are going to be very much a mid-table fodder. As for Box Hill and Bayside, I mean, it's still early on, they can't be discounted entirely. However, considering their start to the season and going to the 5th round, having not made that much of an impact overall, perhaps questions should be asked on just how much of an impact they are going to make on the remainder of the season. Now, while we haven't got a magic ball too far into the future, we will look into round 5 fixtures and then have a bit of a recap on what else has been happening in the league, as we were unable to in our previous video. So, for our round 5 fixtures, on the Saturday, we have 2 interesting fixtures up ahead. Heidelberg will be hosting Bayside. Certainly a game that is a brilliant opportunity for both sides. Firstly, Bayside to get their first points of the season, something they perhaps could be doing against Heidelberg. Heidelberg gained a fantastic opportunity to get a strong win over a very struggling Bayside United, and just perhaps put their hats close to the ring contention for maybe not the league title, but very much pushing towards finals towards the end of the season. Also on the Saturday, we have ourselves hosting Box Hill up at Lakeside from 3:30. On the Sunday, we have FV Emerging hosting Alamein up at Knox. And on the Monday, in typical Bulleen fashion, Boulogne will be hosting on a Monday night at the Benito Club, where they will take on Calder United. So yeah, Emerging versus Alamein. That will certainly be an interesting fixture. Again, a bit like Heidelberg's case, less more for Emerging. It is their points to prove their position, and while they should be contending the glories come the end of the season, Alamein, for them it's sort of a point to prove their quality and that they're not just going to be falling behind more or less into the vague mid-table we have among 8 sides. As for Boulogne, certainly a fantastic opportunity to prove their current run of form. And against Calder, a win for Boulogne could very much play into our favour should we win against Box Hill. Probably should. As for the season stats, while we haven't been making too much of an impact now due to a bit of a spreading of players, we still have our own Lucy Johnson in the top 5 scorers on 5 goals in 4 games. Very good form. She is currently sitting in 3rd, while we have no players in terms of cards in top 4. In top 5, sorry. We do have our first player to get a red card, and is our former goalkeeper, Erin Hudson, who is very much passion and quality. And it's what you want to see in a keeper. Maybe not a card, or at least not a red one. Nonetheless, it is nice to see where our former players are ending up and how their season is going. So all the best, Erin. Hopefully you're not off the bench for too long. Otherwise, that should just be about it for our round 4 recap. So make sure to get down Lakeside on Saturday. And on one final note to end this episode, while we are very much the last and focused upon ensuring that our senior women get the same treatments from a club perspective, I do get an atmosphere and support wherever they go throughout the league, throughout the cup. We are first and foremost South Melbourne fans. As South Melbourne fans, it's fair to say we are over the moon in terms of last night's thumping penalty shootout. Penalties. Against the Melbourne Knights. So it's always good to see the Knights being kicked out of the cup by our accord, as is the nature of all good derbies. And of course, the lads will be playing them again on Friday night up in Sunshine. That could be an interesting night out indeed. And until the weekend beckons, this has been the LES Fan TV. Come on, Hellas.